Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Reacts. And while The Simpsons have quite the track record with predicting the future, who would have thought that they would have also been involved in the past, where an image of Marge Simpson that was painted on an ancient Egyptian tomb goes viral, and for pretty good reason. How often do you see a figure that is yellowish orange in skin with a green dress and tall blue hair? That
Yep.
seems like quite the coincidence. I think
Yep.
not.
Yep. Now, fortunately, the official thing from the official word from the Egyptologists is that the blue tower hair depicted in the Egyptian artwork is not in fact hair, but is in fact a blue crown. But it sure does look a hell of a lot like Marge Simpson's hair, nonetheless.
Yeah, it's very fitting. And this comes from a roughly 3,000-year-old tomb in the Egyptian city of Minya, which is on the western bank of the Nile. And it really looks very similar to good old Marge.
Yeah, the picture really does speak for it. This is such a fun little thing. You can see they've got a bunch of other people dressed exactly as Marge here on the inside lid doing the Egyptian offering poses. Yeah, the supplication and
it's it,
preparation and all that stuff.
it's very interesting, and while the uncanniness is actually pretty close, it just goes to show how a lot of human artwork. I highlight this in what feels like every episode, but humans are very similar. We don't change, we don't adjust. This is a very common theme that you tend to see, and just it's kind of interesting how artwork really does implicate life.
Yeah.
Or
You
mimic, I
mean
should say, not
imitate.
implicate.
Imitate. I'm sorry. Are like you being like accused by the screen for something?
The screen is talking to me, it's implicating
Yeah.
certain things.
Yeah. The Mona Lisa would like to file charges.
I mean, to be fair, she got stolen, so if AI keeps on its trajectory, we might end up having these actual arguments. Uh, but this is a more lighthearted, less serious episode than
Yeah.
what we traditionally talk about, which involves theft, looting, repatriation. This is one where it's just someone saw it and was like, "Hey, that looks like Marge."
Yeah, no, this is definitely a fun one, and it's the human's ability to just sort of, you know, find patterns in anything that we all know and love here, and this is just a fun little example of that. With I mean, just look at this. This is too silly not to talk about, and it's important to have news articles that aren't all, I don't know, breaking news, major event, the world is ending.
If it
It's
bleeds,
important
it
to
leads.
have some of the fun stuff.
And this does pose a couple of interesting thoughts, and I'm going to get a little more serious here outside of the joking, but it's one of the interesting things here because things like this, even though they're goofy in nature, can expose history and can expose a level of learning to people who might not have originally been exposed to it. Someone might see this and go, "Hey, I love watching The Simpsons. Let me look into Egyptian history if they haven't before." And it could really actually be a segue into learning,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
into basically just going down that rabbit hole. I mean, I feel like every single one of us who goes into a history adjacent field has had that one area that they just rabbit hole down.
yeah. Yeah, and the big thing too is like this is great for informing the public because the informed public tends to be the one that supports history and archaeology and museums and preservation. When people know about these things and feel connections to them, human beings start becoming very fiercely protective of it. It's when people don't know or connect with it that they stop caring about it. And having Marge Simpson, the Egyptian pharaoh, here really would really have a very broad audience for Egyptian stuff is cool. We should play nice with it.
And I think that's such a huge thing is once people start caring about history, then the attitude, then the habits, hobbies all start shifting and changing. I mean, you start seeing more enlightened policy be passed that will work towards actually preserving and saving it. You start seeing more money being invested into museums, into collections care, into researching things that may have existed before, because we have a singular example here. Who's to say there's not a million more? You know, we might find the ancient Egyptian Homer at some point, or Bart, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Let's all pray we do not find Bart.
Are you kidding? There are so many examples of trickster gods. You can't tell me that in Norse mythology, Bart wouldn't be an embodiment of Loki.
They've already done that, Justin. We can't have history do it now. They've already done Bart as Loki.
Well, now, if the Simpsons want to hire us on as writers, we got a great episode where they're transported back into ancient Egypt and become an Egyptian pharaoh. And I like the idea of Marge being the pharaoh.
Yeah,
Homer's just some dumb rock cutter building the pyramid.
yeah. Listen. We all know we're gonna have Mo Slyslack as the high priest.
Oh my god, yeah. But it's such a cool thing, and it's something that um, really comes to light and can really give us an insight into this. Like, talking from a historical standpoint now, this image here that depicts the what'd you say, a pharaoh, a priestess?
Uh, I'm not sure what depicts. I went with Pharaoh because it's the easiest word to connect with. They've not released the details as to who they think is in this sarcophagus, who they think is buried here. They've just released the image of the inside of the upper lid.
I would almost lean on just thinking that it's probably a high priestess of some sort, just because obviously, just when you bet. So to open up people to the archaeologist mind, the few things that jump out to me right off the bat is it must have been someone of some level of high importance for them to be in a sarcophagi to begin with, because burials are expensive, they're time consuming. To have it ornate and decorated is another level, because that shows extra care, extra patience taken into adorning the burial. And this shows a series of prayers and offerings, so you could see there's some sort of religious context, there's some sort of religious overview. While we may not know the direct cause, and I'm sure someone has a better idea than we do, someone who studies it for their career, but you can tell that it's someone of high importance. You could tell that it's someone who was well regarded and respected, because otherwise they wouldn't have been buried in this.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, no, something very powerful. And honestly, they're wearing a green dress, which is often associated with both death and the gods. Is green. That is why Osiris is often depicted as a green man.
so
So there's a lot going on here, and the actual scholarship for this should be very interesting when it comes out, especially with how much interest they're generating just from look what we found on the inner inside of the upper lid.
And actually, that's a very, very good point you just made that we didn't even talk about. This can help the researcher get funding for his project, get more money to be pumped into doing additional research when you have the very clickbaity, very viral, very attention grabbing title of, hey, we found a prehistoric Marge Simpson. Give us money and we'll tell you more about her.
Yeah. This is definitely one of those things that ends up in a book 10 years later, The Tomb of Marge Simpson.
But I think that's actually a great point for us to wrap up on this episode. If you guys enjoyed, let us know down below and let us know your thoughts on it, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.